Good morning. You are listening to Turn-Based Memories. This is a JRPG podcast where we, Zoltan and Mel, talk about a game that one of us has played and loved for a long time, and the other has just played for the first time. Mel has recently finished playing Eternal Sonata for the PS3 for the first time. It came out originally in 2007 on the Xbox 360, and this PS3 version came out in 2008. It was published by Bandai Namco in Japan, and in the West it was published by Namco Bandai. Isn't that the stupidest thing you've ever heard? Today, Mel and I are going to talk about our experiences with the game, and we will see how our opinions differ. Can you tell that I just woke up? Welcome to Turn-Based Memories, episode number that I didn't check. We're talking about Eternal... 24, thank you. That was the co-host, Mel. How's it going?
Hi, hello.
And I am the main host this time, the legendary Zoltan. And we're here to talk to Mel about him and his experience with Eternal Sonata for the PlayStation 3. PlayStation 3 version is what we played on original hardware. And he just played it he is playing it for the first time, and I played it like way back when it first came out. So let's get right into it, man. This is the village of Tenuto, where this girl Polka lives, and
there are flowers, and the flowers are amazing.
And the flowers are amazing.
They go on about the flowers.
You do.
This is the most translated ass stuff I've read or heard in a while, and I say that because it feels to me like a lot of these sort of naturalistic concepts are more meaningful probably in Japanese, where there is this kind of more, I don't know, cultural absorption of like concepts of nature and like the seasons and
definitely
the cherry blossoms, etc.
Right. Yeah.
In Japan is a big deal, and here that just doesn't play.
Dude, that's a really good point.
So many of the concepts being had in this dialogue were just so heavy on like that stuff.
Yeah, and I guess basically for that reason, these concepts are lost on us, I would say, aren't they?
Right, and I would say that it's an example of, it was probably, and I can't say for sure, but it felt very directly translated, well done so, but to the point where the points don't land because it just doesn't mean anything in English.
Yeah, good point. It doesn't really mean anything in English. So, yeah, I haven't thought about that with this game in particular, but that's a good point because you're right that in Japan, like, nearly all of life is kind of centered around the seasons in Japan. And so, like, every time when it's April or end of March or beginning of April, like everybody's getting ready to go have a picnic outside under the freaking cherry blossoms during that 3-week or so period where they're in bloom, and everybody's gonna go do that. And every speech at every public school in the entire country on the first day of school, because they always have an assembly on the first day in the gym, all the students come together. Whatever that speech is going to be, the very first line of all of the speeches in Japan is going to be, the sakuras are in bloom now, aren't they? That's going to be the first line of every speech, dude.
Oh, boy.
I swear, every year, that's the first thing they said.
I believe it.
Yeah. So, yeah, maybe you're right. Maybe if I knew Japanese more, and also played this game in Japanese, maybe I could get some deep-ass philosophical truths from this opening or something, but I don't know for sure. So we'll call it the 0th dungeon, and it's the path to Tenuto, and you play just as Polka, and you get your battle tutorials here. What did you think, dude? What happened?
Well, so going into this, because this was on our list of games to play, and I had probably seen the game for less than 30 seconds in action. I had assumed this was like a Tales type, fully real-time combat system. And then it wasn't until we started getting closer to actually playing, I was like, oh, this is actually turn-based.
Totally turn-based.
Right. So knowing that coming in, but only recently to coming into it, I was, pleasantly surprised. That's definitely my preferred mode of combat.
Right?
And something else that I kind of realized with the combat pretty quickly is, yeah, it's button mashy, but you get through the combat really quickly,
Hmm.
I think, in ways that I think are like they understood that you're going to be doing a lot of the same things a lot of the time, and like you can skip all that preamble bullshit when a fight starts if you just mash on the X button.
You can. I didn't even know that until maybe this playthrough also.
You can totally just like boom right to the act, like moving your character, like forget all the like, and we have to fight. Like so many games do that,
Right.
where they have to set up the fight with like a dialogue bark,
Yeah.
and someone has to point at someone else, and the camera has to whoosh around a bit, and
Right. And all that happens if you don't push the button, but you can just skip it instantly if you want.
yeah, it all happens, and the camera does all the whooshing around. But if you mash on the X at least a couple times, you can't just do it once. You gotta really kind of jam on it a little bit. Then all that goes away, and you just start moving and doing the combat. It's great. I love that.
I think we all always assumed, and I'm sure this is the case still actually, that the reason, like for example, old Final Fantasy games, especially like Final Fantasy VIII and stuff, always started combat with panning across all the field, and then the enemies pop up, and then your dudes come up and pose. I'm sure we all assumed the reason they do that is for loading purposes, and I would have expected that this game, which is not available digitally, it's a disc only. PS3 or Xbox 360 game. Well, I don't know. Maybe it's digitally on Xbox. I don't know. But on this PS3 version, you can't get it digitally. It like loads the battles almost instantly, and
it's very fast,
and it's pretty impressive. Now, the interesting thing is though, I find it. Maybe you don't have to worry about it yet, but I find it in the later game, especially, very beneficial to actually watch the camera pan and see where the enemies are going to appear relative to my position and all that, especially later, and you'll find out why later, I guess.
Yeah. I feel like I might know why, but yeah. For right now, obviously the combat starts out simple. That's to be expected, but it was a little confusing up front, to be honest. Like the thing that caught me was the item system
item bar
that they have, the item bar, and the item weights that they have. I didn't realize the items had like a weight to them. They have a point system based on how many items you can put on your belt.
That's right. Yeah, exactly what you say. Yeah.
Right. So I didn't realize that at first, and I didn't realize that. Also, the way the healing works, I'm still a little confused by that. Because if you have like a peach cookie on you and you want to heal, I think it always heals the person with the lowest HP first.
If they are close enough to you, yes, that's what will happen.
What's the range?
You can't really see it, but kind of wide.
The combat is really kind of brisk.
So yeah, it totally depends on how much grinding you do. And I'm not even saying you got to grind a lot, but for example, if you do something where you want to go low level and intentionally start avoiding people, when you finally get into battles later or you get to the boss, if you're low level, it is possible to still win. But man, I tried just fighting the first boss in the sewer, the big mouse, with the level 1 at level 1, and it's like so many rounds go by. Like the difference between level 1 and level 4 of your damage output and damage,
it's a lot.
It's pretty huge. I mean, always in the beginning of any game, going from level 1 to level 4, that just means you quadrupled your level, right? So
right, but sometimes the stat increases, depends on the game and the other underlying mechanics, but sometimes the stat increases you get are not
that significant in certain games, right?
Significant in certain games, like they're little bits, and it's more. Some games are more about the equipment that you get, or like some other sort of ancillary mechanic. In this game, when you level up, and you level up pretty quickly, like I think I'm level 7 or 8 now.
Oh, that's good. Yeah.
The stat boosts you get, it's like 200 HP, and that's kind of a lot. And when you have 1200 to begin, like before you leveled up.
Right. Well, that's just the level 1, right? But yeah, I think throughout the entire game, it's going to be 2 to 400 HP depending on the character, and then 3 or 4 of all four stats, between 3 and 4 points for each of them. They all level up kind of similarly.
Okay.
But yeah, maybe like the less defensive person gets only 3 defense every time instead of 4 every time, or something like that.
Right.
So in the end, maybe there'll be a difference, but and yeah, just those 3 or 4 points, especially in the beginning, make a pretty massive difference. And I'm thinking the whole game is probably going to be balanced like that. Yeah, and also I noticed in the menu that this game has multiplayer during the combat.
Fuck? Really?
Yeah, dude. You can set player 2 and player 3 to be different controllers.
Well, what does that accomplish?
Just you fight with your friends. That's all. It doesn't accomplish anything more than playing with your friend. That's all.
Okay, so when it's the second party member's turn, only
your friend's
controller 2 can control.
That's what it means. Yes.
Okay. All right.
That's all. I mean,
kind of funny,
right? I mean, nothing really. It doesn't really change the game other than you can play with your friend.
That's a really crazy. I mean, I guess it probably wasn't very difficult to add that feature in, but it's like,
so they just figured might as well.
I would love to know who did that.
Well, dude, I think there's a Let's Play on there with a dude and his wife playing it that way.
Okay, that's what I was gonna say. It was like, it seems like a boyfriend, girlfriend, or husband and wife.
Yeah, right. You wouldn't play it with just random friends unless you're.
Yo, me and my bros hanging out playing some Eternal Sonata. Let's go.
Yeah, exactly. You got to have some hardcore JRPG friends coming over.
Yo, let's do it.
Now is a good time to talk about the menu because this game is done by Tricrescendo, and the other game we played by Tricrescendo, was it only Tricrescendo, or was it like with Monolith? I think it was with Monolith Soft and Tricrescendo. Was Batenkaitos Origins, and that game had, if I can remember correctly, a very sweet menu. I remember we praised the menu for something, right?
Probably.
But I'd say this one has probably one of the greatest menus of all time, in my opinion. Before I go into reasons why, what do you think of the menu?
I mean, my initial comment there was just on the very beautiful twinkly tune that it plays when you open the menu every single time. There's
that too, right? But I mean, not just visually, like how it, the mechanics of the menu and how good it is in that way.
Off the bat, I didn't find it too remarkable. In fact, I might even say it's a little confusing because the equipment is in the status section.
So that's the thing that I love about it.
Oh, interesting. All right. I mean, I'm used to a more traditional items, equipment, status, which we never go into. Whatever else, certain skills, blah blah blah. I guess this condenses it into one area.
Yeah. So most, like you just said, most JRPG menus, they have the skills menu, the equipment menu, and the status menu, and they're all separate. And one thing you can do in this one, you don't even have to go and choose any of the, there's like items and their status and all that. You don't have to choose any of those. You can just move the cursor down to a character as if you were going to, say, move them to in or out of the party, and just click on them there, and boom, in that menu right there, you're seeing the character's full status. You are accessing all their equipment and their skills as well, because you can change their skills in this game later. So
that makes sense.
That's awesome to me. And it moves quickly enough, but it is also beautifully animated. And I don't know that there's been a more convenient, I'd say I haven't played that many different games, of course, but I haven't played a more convenient menu game since Chrono Trigger, which Chrono Trigger does a similar thing where the default screen has the status and the equipment right there.
Right.
So
I'm trying to think. It's actually not a factor in a game that I've paid very much attention to, but now that I'm kind of rolling it in my head, there are several different ways to kind of get at this quote unquote problem of kind of sort
Too
of
many
designing
menus.
this mousetrap of
Hmm.
how do you construct your menu? If you're accomplishing more or less the same thing in a game where you have a party and you have items and equipment and skills and whatever other little ancillary things, how do you allow the player to get at those and modify them? You have a couple of different ways you can go about it. And I think you're right. Most games tend to favor breaking them into categories, and then you go into each category per character, right?
Right.
So you go into the equipment, and then you see a breakdown of your characters, and you go and click on your character's face, and then you see what they have equipped. And in this, just you go to your character, and everything for the character is just there. It's like a character sheet.
Yeah, it is like a character sheet, I suppose, in that way. Yeah,
Right.
they probably could have done a little more with the items because I think the place where you want to use an item and you want to equip items into your like belt, so to speak, is like two different menus. They probably could have
Yeah,
put that in one
that could
menu.
have been in one menu. I do appreciate how the scroll bar is a piano.
Oh, it is, isn't it? Yeah, that's right.
And I think the cursor is a little musical symbol, right?
I think it's a treble clef. Yeah,
That's what it's called. Yes,
yeah.
treble clef.
I guess now is as good a time as any to go ahead and bring up the music. What do you think of it so far?
Wow, this is some Sakuraba ass soundtrack going on with the same like do 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 do.
Yep, the battle theme. That's the only problem.
It's just like you can make it up as you go along, and it's the same shit.
You said that before that you could just make up a Motoi Sakuraba-san easily. So
You really can. You could just like improvise the hell, and I'm sure that's what he's doing.
he probably
But
does because he's a jazz musician. He probably does ad lib a lot of these things when he's composing them anyway.
it's got the same like three pieces of music in it, just rearranged in different ways.
Oh, well, like so this
I
song.
don't hate it though. I think it's okay.
I think it's freaking awesome in this game in particular. I think it's one of his better ones.
Mhm.
You know, he makes all the Tales soundtracks, all the Valkyrie Profile soundtracks, all the Star Ocean soundtracks. This game, that other game that we played, Baten Kaitos, and freaking Dark Souls 1. And like out of all those different soundtracks, the one that's really different sounding would be like the Dark Souls one, of course, because it's a totally different
Sure.
kind of game. And they actually told him to do something different with the music, so that's good.
Tell him to do something different.
Just in case he was gonna put like
Dark Souls.
yeah, Dark Souls, that would have been weird. But I don't know. I feel like he really this is one of his better ones. Like if you compare it to something, it sounds more the word I always want to use when I think about Motoi Saguraba's good soundtracks, at least by my opinion. The word I want to describe is inspired. I feel like this one is quite a lot more inspired than any of his Tales soundtracks, for example.
Okay.
That's just what I think. I don't know.
I mean, having really only spent a lot of time with his music in Baten Kaitos, this really just throws me back into those games like hard.
So it feels like the same, basically, huh?
It almost feels like I'm playing those games again.
Yeah, but this song in particular, it sounds kind of different to most of his other songs, in my opinion. I'll sing a little bit. It goes dun 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 dun, and then the violin comes on top of it like dun na 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 dun na 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 na. And maybe you don't remember it yet, but I don't know. I like this song. Is all I could say. I don't know. It stands out to me as not a song that he not a style he usually composes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would say that actually, the music is a big part of it, but the style of this game and in the town in Ritardondo, it definitely stood out to me. The style of this game is clearly from the same development house that made Baten Kaitos, except it's not the pre-rendered backgrounds. Like if that game didn't have the sort of picturesque pre-rendered backgrounds, you could tell they took that design philosophy and applied it to a fully 3D area. And the biggest place where this stands out design wise is whenever you go into like a shop.
Oh
Because the
yeah,
shops all look like they're meant to be viewed from one angle,
and
dead
that
head on,
head on.
with the vendor, the shopkeeper, square in the middle with their behind their desk, and just
Right.
all this crap piled up around them, and all this crazy furniture and shit,
Yeah.
kind of angled in, pointing at them, and you're kind of meant to look at it one way. It's like a magic eye painting almost.
Right. And in this
And
in this
yeah.
game, you can only look at them one way because this
Mm.
game has, thank you very much, freaking set camera angles, not only for
Yeah,
the shops but for the dungeons as
for
well.
the whole game, I think,
Yes,
right?
the whole game. The whole game. You can
Right.
never change
It's
the angle.
one of
It's
those games.
great.
Yes, I kind of like it. I'm sure there are people out there who don't. Maybe I guess I don't know.
I mean,
I think it's fine.
you go first. You think it's fine?
I think it's fine. I think they do things with it. I think that's usually my standard for was it worth it? Is did you do anything with it? And they
Right.
do. They do something with it design wise, like I was saying. It makes things look more picturesque, and they do stuff with it gameplay wise because they use it cleverly to hide like little chests or whatever.
Exactly. Yeah. And so even back in freaking Shadow Hearts Covenant that you had me play, even that game had it where like, you'd run over cross over here and the camera angle would change, but just a little bit onto the corner, there's a little like brown corner sticking out. Oh, I think that's a chest. And then you go over to
Yep.
it and it is a chest. And so, yeah, you could use it for exploration as well. I'm fine enough, even if they didn't use it, although it's better that they did. But I'm fine even with it if there's no like exploration positives to say about it. Just it looks better, I think, when you set the camera angle and they've they've designed the shop to be viewed from that specific angle.
Right. Yeah.
And that's one of the things that makes this game ridiculously beautiful. And that's why we just might as well keep on going on about the graphics for now. This is, in my opinion, the greatest graphics of any PS3 game. And for me specifically, I don't know that there's any game that I'd rather look at than this game, to be honest. It's just freaking beautiful.
The PS3 was definitely, and this game, we're definitely right in the smack middle of high fidelity, high definition, meaning like realism. People really wanted to look at like grungy, real brown, dead shit.
Right.
Because it was the first time that consoles could really pull that off. So everyone was very enamored with having their product look that way because it looked different for the time. It looked different. Now it looked like horror. Like, please don't. There's too much. And even to this day, I would say it's like, ugh, like, come on. And games like this were a big standout, which definitely took a different direction. Yeah, I don't know. So that's to say, I guess I could agree that this is one of the more standout, pretty looking PS3 games. I don't know because the graphical artistry is so amazing. It's just that the rest of what's on the PS3 is so not amazing.
Oh, well, I mean, there's I've played some other really awesome ones. I mean, it depends on which way you want to go, right? This game, I would say it aged better than a lot of other games because it didn't go the realistic route at all. It went full anime. And, you could compare it to Metal Gear Solid 4. Yeah, 4. Amazing graphics, but, they went the realistic route. And Final Fantasy 13, as far as fidelity goes, I think FF13 is like the highest. Like
yeah, you're right. 13 is probably, and there are a fair amount of like coloration and it's not so drab. In fact, a lot of it's very like stark and bright white because some of it's in the snow, I think. But yeah, this game's more stylized, probably the prettiest anime game on the console, maybe. I don't know, maybe not. But
yeah.
It's you're definitely right, it aged very well because of it.
Yeah, as you go on further into the game, I'd like you to try to pay attention to just like any house you go into. Like, for example, there's this one girl who joins your party later who has a bow and arrow. Dude, when you get inside her house, man, it's like they put so much effort. It looks like they put so much effort into this house that you spend like literally 3-minute cutscene and then you're gone. But like you can look around there and it's like there's light shining through the windows and the light rays are animated. There's freaking all kinds of clutter all over her house. There's multiple different uh, textures of wood, and then there's also like wood and stone, dirt and stone also used for like the entrance. And it's like Jesus, and
Yeah.
it blows my mind every time I look at it.
It kind of almost makes me wish that they did do this in a pre-rendered fashion, but that was so on the outs and still is. Like,
Right.
no one would design a game that way unless it was a deliberate choice to be like, we're doing it the old way. Uh, and I can see the benefits to not doing it because the camera does move. And
Right.
it does move sometimes for the sake of giving you a better angle. And in games like Baten Kaitos, the camera couldn't move because there was no camera to move. Like, it couldn't move in closer to the JPEG. Like, it's not going to help you.
Right. It can move
You
left
know?
and right though. Yeah.
You can move left and right. But if your
Yeah.
character, it was usually a problem if in a particularly dense scene, your character had to advance away from the screen and then, like, up a staircase or something. It could be hard to tell, well, am I close to the staircase? I don't know.
Because you're
I'm
getting
very far
small.
from the screen right now.
Yeah.
And sometimes that would happen in areas where there was quite a lot going on. And in this game, they can avoid that issue. The trade-off, of course, is every scene in Baten Kaitos 1 and 2 was like a painting.
I'd
Like,
say
really.
you're getting the same thing with this, to be honest.
I can agree to an extent. I just think that now imagine if they had applied like a high definition
Right.
coat of
Render.
paint
Right. I know what you're
to
saying.
that background sort of technology, which they really never did do, because by that time of high definition consoles, that whole technique was gone.
Hmm.
It was kind of firmly over by the time the GameCube had retired, because that was the last system where almost all of that existed.
Right. Yeah, I see what you're saying. Maybe it would look a lot better if they had done that on a PS3 game like this. Yeah. But then you'd miss out on the camera moving around, right?
Yeah, I can see pluses and minuses to it. I'm just kind of more like curious, like what would a modern game
Mm.
with like a good budget look like
Right.
with pre-rendered fucking backgrounds? Man.
Do you eat? Well, yeah, we'll get into that question another time.
Okay.
Okay. Did you try the poison whitecap item yet?
I did not know.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. You can throw it on an enemy, most useful, of course, on bosses, and they'll get poisoned and take damage at the beginning of every turn. And not only will that be, damage added to the total that you need to do to them, but also they take like a quick little stagger, like they got hit. So that makes them waste like
Right.
a fourth or a third of a second or something, and that's pretty nice. And
Right.
yeah, and another thing you can do is something like, for example, when you're playing Polka and you do, what is her attack? Not Nether Wave. That's the one you get later.
Roll something.
The one, okay, whatever her default. I wish I could remember. Her default shadow attack is like a big, like ball of darkness that hits them, and it knocks them down. And that also, when they get back up from that, takes a little bit of their time of their turn. So that's a really cool addition to the battle system, I think.
Yeah, I kind of noticed that the knockdown plays some sort of effect, and I wasn't sure if maybe that was coming into play more later on, but
Just
I
the
guess
time.
like you're saying,
Yeah.
it adds to their time of having to set up their attack. Your position relative to the enemy is also pretty important because you don't get the opportunity to defend just the way the enemy doesn't if your back is to the enemy.
Yes.
So that can play a big role. I find myself lately attacking enemies more head on because I don't want to put my back to like two other dudes who are just gonna like wipe me out. So even though I might be doing less damage, I'm not gonna get wiped out.
Right. That's a good thing. A good consideration right there. Yeah. I would say that that's one of the things that makes another aspect that's really polished about this combat system is that a lot of games have you enter battle, like either hitting the enemy. If you can see the enemies on the world map or on the field, then yeah, if you like hit them from the back or something, you'll get like an extra turn or something like that.
Right.
I don't know that making sure you hit enemies from the back on the field and, making
No.
sure you're in the right position on the battlefield has been more important than it is in this game because it's crazy. For one, we mentioned that just a normal hit can do like a fourth of your HP. And if you get hit from the back, the enemy gets 2 turns each right off the bat if you're not fast, for example. so
Yeah.
so that could be a massive problem. And your back is going to be facing them, and they're going to be close to you, ready to rage on you. And the way you have to the way you have to recover from being hit in the back is as soon as they start their attack, hopefully it's slow enough that you can just jam on the defend button and turn around. If you turn around, you won't be able to defend, but then you'll be able to defend starting from their next attack, right? So that's how that works. And yeah, I'm just impressed that they actually made like pincer attacks and back attacks and positioning on the field as meaningful as they did, like way more than almost any other game I've ever played. So then we're going to get some cutscenes here. And I'll just sum them up real quick. We learned that everything other than mineral powder has a high tax on it, and that there is a fatal illness that grants people magic powers up until they die. Somehow, only Allegretto knows that the disease is not contagious. Then we see Polka, and Polka meets Frederick motherfucking Chopin, the pianist himself in the flesh. And he just tells Polka that she and everything in this world is a product of his imagination. And then she invites Chopin to come see something in the forest. That's what happens. What do you have to say about those scenes?
Yeah. I mean, that is crazy. The idea that someone is having a dream world and they're just fully aware, like, yeah,
Right.
this is I'm making all this up. Like,
Has it ever happened to you? It's happened to me, to be honest.
in a dream? No, I've heard of stories where people are like, I'm dreaming. I'm gonna go fly around now, and I've never had that.
Yeah, I've had it a few times, but basically once I notice that it's a dream, pretty shortly after that is when I wake up. So I couldn't have any fun.
I usually have, not usually, but on occasion where I come close to it, I'll have a dream where something is going on that's like weird, that's different from reality in a weird, interesting way, and I'll remember it, but in the dream, it'll be like, I remembered this happening to me before. And what's happening is I'm remembering it in a different dream. And it'll be like, I can float or whatever. And I'm like, oh, I remember figuring out how to do this before. And now I can do it again. And it won't dawn on me like, oh, you're dreaming, stupid. Like,
Right.
I believe all my dreams all the time.
Yeah, that's usually what happens for me too, but it has happened to me a couple times. Sorry, did you want to say anything more about him telling her that she's
that's a heavy load to drop on a little child.
It sure is, isn't it? Can you imagine walking up to a real life, like 13 or so year old and saying, "You're just in my mind. You're a figment of my imagination. You don't exist. I made this world."
There's that like real ass scene where this girl brings an adult man to her home, and her mother's like, "Who's this?"
I know, right?
And I feel bad because you're like ostensibly playing as Chopin. I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing here. I'm gonna get
Right.
up on some list.
Right. Yeah, pardon me for coming over as a total stranger at freaking 2 a.m. or so.
Can I stay the night and eat dinner? Thanks.
Right. So before you go into the next dungeon, there is a thing that I thought was just like a really sweet hint that I never picked up before.
I mentioned like the chest where you can in Allegretto's hideout where you can see it but you can't access it yet, and lots of games do that where they put something where you can see it but you can't get it until later, and then when you finally find it, like, yeah, I got that thing I saw, or you can figure out a way to get to it. So this one kind of blew my mind. It's the smallest little thing ever. All you get is floral powder for it, but if you go when you're first controlling Polka and you first arrive at Tenuto Village in the daytime and it's just her, there's like some water coming out of a pipe, which is coming out of like the cliffside or a rock next to your house, like behind your house. And like water's like pouring out of there into like a little well or something. And that's like the drinking water supply, I think. And she goes, if you go over there, you can push the X button or the circle button or whatever your button is, and she'll say, oh yeah, I should come back and get some water later. If you come back and get some water later, you get a freaking floral powder. I just can't believe they put that as like a little item you can
I
get.
noticed that dialogue, but I didn't go back.
Oh, yeah. All right, so then we're going to go into the second dungeon, which is Heaven's Mirror Forest. And this is the one with the... You go in here with Polka and Chopin, and this one has the Wild Boar boss, which is way harder than the first boss.
Yeah, that's another staple of this developer. They love doing this.
They do, don't they, right? First it was the freaking Holo Holo Bird. Now it's the Wild Boar. Dude,
that was on another level before.
Yeah, well, wait, there's another crazy difficulty spike in this game later.
Spike in this game? Great.
Oh,
okay.
It's crazy.
I don't know what it is, but they've done it so often to the point where it's gotta be intentional. They gotta know what they're doing. It's not like, oops, this was supposed to be a 6 and it's a 10.
Right.
These boss difficulty spikes just come the hell out of nowhere, and I remember like thinking, I guess I gotta pay attention and heal. Like, it wasn't so crazy.
And then after you beat the Wild Boar boss, you get party level 2. Okay, so I wrote down what you get here. The timer starts counting down just after a single step or anything that you do, as opposed to just counting down while you're doing things. It just constantly counts down now. But they didn't tell you, and it doesn't tell you in the menu either, but they tutorialize it immediately after that with the next battle when you're with freaking Redo guys, Allegretto guys in the Agogo Forest, which is the next combat area you go to. You can build up echoes now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I don't think there are any... They didn't tell you before, during the party level 2
at all
or anything, but I don't think there are any battles you can get into between beating the Wild Boar and fighting the next tutorial. Are there? I don't think there are.
I don't know if there are. I mean, I guess not, but it was enough of a delay in getting that tutorial to the point where I was like, well, what was the point? Just the game got harder? Like,
right.
That was what I thought it was. And I didn't make the connection. Oh, and then you
can build up echoes.
Yeah, that means you can build up echoes.
Right, yeah. And that's way better, actually. Really, you didn't even lose any time. You still got 5 whole seconds. And you still have tactical time. You just have to make sure you do everything in one continuous motion. But now you can build echoes. And there is like the ultimate motivation to not spam special attacks, but to use normal hits and then throw it on at the end. Or to like use normal hits and then not do anything and then have the next person throw on more hits and then use one at the end of their turn. And that's how you can buff your heals as well if you need to.
Right, I noticed that. And if you get above 16 or so, they'll say even more anime shit when they do their special moves.
Oh, right. If you get 24 or 32, the highest this thing goes is 32. But if you get it up to 24 or 32, they'll say some anime thing before they do their special.
Say more anime things.
More anime things. Exactly. And if only... I'm going to call this Motoi Sakuraba syndrome because it has the worst effect, I'd say. It's like, it has the worst effect on Motoi Sakuraba composed games, which is the whole thing where it's always the same battle system all the time. I'm sorry, not the battle system. The battle music keeps coming in all the time, which is almost every RPG does this. But the thing is, Motoi Sakuraba dungeon themes are already very appropriate for battle as well. So, like, it seems like the most pointless thing in the world to go to the battle theme in those dungeons. Like, there's a dungeon coming up that's really freaking cool called Fort Fermata. It's the 5th dungeon in the game. And man, that has this really cool, weird music, and it's a really interestingly designed dungeon. You can look forward to it. Its layout is really unique. It's got a puzzle in it as well. But then, like, every time you fight a fucking mouse,
Now that we're in a go-go village, like you were saying, we've tuned up with both parts of the party, right?
That's right. We're all together now.
We're all together. So I have also been taking a look at some of the wording in this because or some key terms in the game.
Okay.
And while I don't have any kind of musical background at all, I do have a bit of a lit background, so I can kind of generally suss out and look up, honestly, some of these words, many of which are Italian.
Right.
So we have one that you've heard probably a lot, which is when Chopin says più grave.
Oh, I don't know anything about that. I didn't look that up.
And that is Italian for very, very slow.
Oh, okay. So that's also a musical term. Should have known.
It's a musical term. Più meaning more, which is kind of related to like plus, the word plus in English. And grave is related to the word grave in English, which means heavy.
Oh, that grave. Okay.
So, yeah, grave. Yeah, right. And let's see what else. Polka just means Polish woman in Polish.
Right. That's right. We mentioned that last time.
I think we did. Yeah. I think I remember thinking that.
And you were like, whoa.
Yeah. The word march, that's another character, and it's also part of a musical term.
That's right.
Just comes from the sound of marching. It comes from Latin, similar sounding word, and it just kind of is evocative of the sound of marched footsteps.
Mm-hmm.
She references her sister Salsa.
Oh, that's right. I didn't mention that one yet.
And I guess you'll get to the, if you want, if you can mention the musical part of it, but the word just means sauce.
That's why salsa
it literally
is called
means
salsa.
Sauce.
Okay.
Exactly. I thought there was more of like a reason behind that. No, it just does mean sauce. Yes.
Now, but there's this really weird mechanic. Whenever you go to a shop to sell something, to sell photos, I mean, I guess it only happens the first time. The first time you go into the sell photos option in the menu, the guy will say, "We have a photographer here today." You probably think he's talking about you bringing in the photos, referring to you. He's not. There's like a random chance that when you go to sell photos, there is actually also a photographer in the shop there to check out your pictures and give them the proper and properly appraise their value. And so what's funny, and then sometimes if you go in there, it won't say that. That means there is no photographer there. And the amount of money you get per photo will change depending on that. It's weird.
Oh my God.
It's weird. Now, I think they fixed it in this version because I think in the Xbox 360 version, it was just completely random. So you'd have to just go out of the cell photos and then go back in and go back out and go back in until it said it, right? But I've sat here to see if I could get it to say it again, like after the first time. And from what I've observed is that every time, the first time you go there, the photographer is there, and after that, he's gone, which is actually a pretty solid version of that mechanic if you're going to have that mechanic. And so the value of the photographer being there is that if you have a photo that is C rank or lower, then you just don't want the photographer to be there, and you'll actually get more money because the shopkeeper doesn't really know how much it should be worth. But then when you get a B or an A rank photo, you want him there, especially if it's a boss photo, because he will tell you the correct value, and it'll be worth thousands per photo if you get A ranks of a boss. and sell it while the photographer is there. There you go.
Huh. Okay. All right. That's good to know. I had largely abandoned the photography because it's hard to take photos.
This one is important to me. So Viola's house is the perfect example of the amount of effort put into the graphics. Insanely high detail for a room we spend 3 minutes in. 3 different types of windows, animated rays of light shining through them. Farm supplies clutter the entire house. Paintings, curtains used as there are paintings, curtains used as dividers, potted plants, dressers, multiple different types of wood. These are the greatest PS3 graphics of all time, and is what I wrote here. And it's just some of the greatest graphics of all time in general. If you ask me, it's just so impressive to me.
It's really well done. I think it speaks to artistic design being very important because, again, as we mentioned before, these are the guys that did those static pre-rendered backgrounds, which were very painterly and very designed meticulously. And that same art team is clearly still here for this game because it looks like they did the same job again.
Yeah, exactly. It's amazing to me. So cutscene. Count Waltz talks about how we need to serve the citizens while evil music plays in the background, while laughing all evil, while slouching on his throne, while scolding his officers, while sounding sarcastic the entire time. He hilariously tells Fugue that he doesn't want to hear excuses or reports of failure, then immediately tells the other guy, I think it was Legato, not to bother reporting when things are going well.
Yeah, I remember that. And I was like, well, is that supposed to be funny? I guess so.
Yeah. That's the scene we saw. And like I said before, we learned about mineral powder is turning people into monsters.
So it's not just all about lowering taxes now. Oh.
That's right.
Moved on. New Horizons.
Which would you have preferred?
I don't know. I think it would have been very funny if we got much further in the game with that being the sole driving plot force of more than half the protagonists.
Right. That would have been pretty funny, right? Okay, so then we're at the 5th stage, Fort Fermata. Quite possibly, dude. This is one of the coolest dungeon designs of all time.
Whoa. Okay.
That's what I'm saying. Like, how do you make this dungeon, dude? How do you come up with this dungeon? The design of it is crazy. It's like this crazy thing with like 5 massive circular walkways on top and then 5 circular walkways on the bottom, like below them, sitting in some water. And there's like this room that can move into 4 different positions in the middle of the whole map. And it is just like, dude, it's the most creative dungeon design. I can't think of a more creative dungeon than this. It's okay. And so when you beat the boss here, you go up to party level 3. So party level 3 has tactical time is no longer infinite. You now just have 3 seconds tactical time. The action gauge is now not 5 seconds, but reduced to 4 seconds. So you're just getting minuses. But you can hold double the items and double the special moves. Now, you can't perform double the special moves, but you can hold double the special moves.
But that's big because it really does increase your flexibility with certain characters to either be defensive or offensive or something.
Yeah.
Or be more effective in the dark or in the light or whatever.
Yeah. I mean, it would be most... I guess the most likely time to use to, want to switch between a different dark or a different light special would be like if like this one is meant for long range enemies and this one's meant for just pounding on one enemy, or like some specials hit multiple enemies and some only hit one. So I mean there's that. And then there's also like if you have, I don't think we have this yet, but eventually no, you do have this. For example, when Chopin learns coup de grace, that's also a light spell, a light special, and then also his healing is Sacred Signature is also light. So,
Right.
you can switch, I need to heal this time. Hold the R2 button or whatever.
Yeah, I definitely make use of that. Although his heal isn't great, it's gotten me through in a pinch, but I try not to rely on that.
Yeah, hers is better, right? Earth heal is better, isn't it?
Who Polka?
Polka's Earth heal, yeah.
Yeah, I don't use her. I probably should.
Her, when she gets to like level 9 or 10 or something, I forgot.
Here's a question I probably should know the answer to. Enemies in reserve don't get any experience points, do they?
Oh, your characters? Yes, they do.
Yeah. Oh, they do? Okay.
Yeah, they are. I don't think it's the full amount, but it's like 70 or something %, I think.
Oh, all right. Okay.
So most
I
of
haven't
it.
been paying attention to that. It was something I was going to look at, and then I figured I'll just ask you.
Right. Here it is. I have here. Level 15, Earth Heal. Dude, when she gets Earth Heal, it doesn't heal her, but it heals all the other players, the other 2 players, if they're both close enough. It's pretty long range, but not super long. That heals so much HP, yo.
Okay.
It's like full heals all over the time. All the time. The only problem is when she has to heal herself. So
Yeah, I kind of Club Clovers are the way to go for me right now.
yeah, you can just use those too. Those work fine.
Yeah, and the extra item belt slot.
Right, double from 10 to 20.
Really good. That's very effective because the stupid angel trumpets take up a lot of space.
Right, take up 3 units each. Yeah. Okay, good. So you're happy about party level 3 then overall, huh?
Yeah, I think that's fine. I think the tactical time being infinite was probably going to go away, so I was expecting that. And I don't know about the action gauge going down. That means you can hit the enemy less? Is that what that means?
That's what that means. Yeah, 1 second less.
So you're getting fewer attacks in, which means you're just dealing less damage. I don't know if that's great.
Cutscene. A little girl at the inn asks you to find her brother Phil for her before her mom finds out because mother is super scary. Quote, it'll be worse than 100 spankings. And quote, you'll be saving his life, literally. That's what she said.
I like so this is around about where I wrote a note where I said I liked the dialogue. I just don't like the voice acting on most of this. I just think that line is funnier than it was read. And if they had just gotten a stronger voice acting cast, at least for like the ancillary characters, it would have been better. Some people are doing a better job in this game than others.
Who's doing a good job?
I think Salsa's voice actor is really good.
She does the southern accent.
Yeah, but it's at least something. Like everyone else is a robot or just like anime protagonist number 2. And, like fucking Beat. I can't tell you how many times I've heard Beat's exact voice and cadence in something that came from Japan. Like it's the billionth time. Like do something. Like read these lines with a little more like oomph in it. Like do something. I don't know.
Mm-hmm. And I wrote here, and Phil, who fell from the top of Glissando Cliffs, was totally fine when we found him at the bottom. Unbelievable.
I like how this whole dungeon is just like you're at this city, which presumably has been there for a while. And then they're like, warning, there's a cliff. I'm like, well, did it just show up?
You're right.
Why are you building this fence now? There's like a guy there like, sorry, hang on. No one's allowed over here right now. There's a cliff. I'm like, is this a seasonal cliff?
It comes and goes.
Why is this not taken care of? This city is gigantic. Just put a gate here.
Indeed. That's a good point.
Like, sorry, there's a cliff. Someone might fall. I'm like, first of all, is that really isn't that its own warning? It's a cliff. Don't go near it. And so, of course, someone did fall. I just thought that was all really kind of funny.
All right. So now we got some cutscenes. Waltz tells Tuba it's his last chance to kill us and bring back Salsa. Frederick, tells everyone that he is asleep in Paris and that this world is his dream. He tells everybody that.
He just outright says the crazy shit out loud. Everyone's like, what? And he's like, I think this is what's happening. And then they're like, well, I don't know. I think you're insane.
Yeah. And Redo keeps referring to Fred as Mr. and, quote, that guy. And Polka gets unbelievably angry at him for that.
Well, she's very attached to him in this like kind of weird way. Like from the minute they met, she was like, "Look, Mom, here's this man."
Yeah.
And she's like, "That's nice, honey. You brought an adult man here."
Yeah.
So she's got, I don't know if it's supposed to be like sort of a girl crush thing that she has going on or just like a whatever, but she's very defensive of him. And
It's got to be related to like the fact that she's gonna die and she has magic powers and
sure, I
he can
guess.
do magic too or something, right?
Right.
Like
He
he has
said that
healing
he was
magic.
like a magician, didn't he say something to that effect?
The magician thing, I don't remember if he said that, but I remember Allegretto saying, "Oh yeah, I'm a magician," before he
Right.
picked the lock because he didn't want them to
Yeah.
say that he's a thief, right? So
Uh-huh.
I remember that.
Yeah. Well,
Like,
their initial conversation between Chopin and Polka, I remember there was like a connection there. So
yeah, she said, "Oh, you can use magic too." I think I remember her saying something.
yeah, I can't remember. That's a weird conversation they had, but it was like you could tell they were like bonding or whatever. And for a man conscious of the fact that he was locked in his own dream, he sure is having a very low key crisis right now.
Yeah, I suppose. What do you mean? I mean, he's in his dream. Is that part of the crisis?
I mean, he's aware that he is in a dream world and that he needs to figure out what's going on, but he's just very chill about it.
I mean, if you know you're in your dream, do you have to fret that much though? It's a
I
dream.
mean, is he aware that he's unconscious? Like he's in a dream world because he's like deathly ill?
Okay, that's a good point. I think he is aware of that, right? Yeah.
Right. And so isn't the whole goal of this to like kind of figure out whatever he needs to figure out in this dream so that he can wake up?
I'm not sure if it's so he can wake up. I mean, that's what the doctor on the other side of the
Right.
real world
I'm not
is saying,
sure
right?
what his actual goal is either.
To be honest,
If
I'm
it's
not
just
either,
to
yeah.
like,
See what this
I
is all
think,
gonna do.
yeah, because I think they're trying to imply that he's unsure about his existence. So he knows he's in a dream, but he's not sure he's in a dream. And the characters that he's meeting in the dream are like, "This is the real world. What are you talking about?" And he's like, "Maybe you're right, but I think I'm in a dream." And so there's this tug and pull of, is he gonna believe in the dream and essentially die, or is he gonna not believe in the dream
And come
I don't know
out.
what that and then I don't know what that means. I assume what that means is fulfilling the goal of the rest of the characters in the dream. I think that's like the implication is that he's gonna beat the game essentially and then wake up. I don't know if that's what happens, but that's my assumption at this point.
Well, in real life, he would just die, right?
If what happens.
In real life, whatever time period this was, it said the year on the screen in the beginning. He just dies at this point in real life, right? Not in the game, in real life, a long time ago.
Got it. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure what the game is really going for. So far, all I can tell is they're trying to imply that he's uncertain about his position as himself
Right.
in the dream. And it seems to be like, well, what does he want to do? Does he want to go toward the dream world, or does he want to go toward the living world? But what does that require? He doesn't even know what to do either of those things. Or if he does,
Right.
I don't know what to
Yeah.
do. And and I don't know if that's because I don't understand what they're trying to tell me, or if he actually doesn't know either, and that's part of the discovery. But that so far seems to be like the overarching plot, and then you have this dream world plot of the mineral powder and the Count Waltz and stuff.
Right. Yeah, I don't know what they're trying to say either.
I'm sure it'll become a little bit clearer as things move forward, but
Yeah, we got a ways to go still.
sure.
Next cutscene, they say the real reason why Fort Fermata was built as they pass back through it with Andantino guys. They say it was built so none of the king's beloved citizens would ever leave him.
Right.
And for that, a revolution happened. And I got a couple quotes here. They said, quote, the king turned his back on his faults and lived a life of fantasy. the fort is to keep his world from slipping away. What's important, and another quote is, what's important is to have confidence in yourself without fearing the judgment of others. And that's all what they said after, they talked about this story of how there was this king who was very, very popular. And that king liked being very, very popular. And so he built Fort Formata so that nobody would leave. And then that made everybody angry, and a revolution started. Very interesting.
I guess that's part of the commentary they're trying to make on Chopin and his journey in this dream world. I'm not sure. I mean, I'm sure it is. I'm just not sure exactly the ways in which it's like lining up. Like, is he the king who's trying to,
keep his world from slipping away?
Keep his world from slipping away and trying to figure out how to open up more to people. But I don't know how well established that problem is, since we only get to see him while he's already in the dream world.
Right. Okay, so I looked up some stuff that you talked about before, Mel. Remember when you wondered if like the Chopin pieces in the game were like just licensed old recordings from somewhere else, or if they actually had Moto-E do it, or what? Well, I figured it out, and it's kind of interesting, actually. I got a page here. I'm just going to read directly from the Wikipedia article I found. The person who did it, his name is Stanislav Bunin. He's a Russian dude. He was born in Moscow in 1966 into an established European musical family, which included his grandfather, Heinrich Neuhaus. I don't know who that is. His grandmother, Zinaida. I don't know who that is either. And his father, Stanislav Neuhaus. In 1985, he got a series of prizes. Okay, blah, blah, blah. He's really cool. He spent much of the next decade in Japan, teaching for 6 years at Senzoku Gakuen Music College in the city of Kawasaki. His wife is Japanese. I don't really understand this next part. Having obtained German citizenship, in 2012, he was a resident in Japan. I don't see the connection between those two things.
Yeah, that's kind of weirdly worded. I guess they're just saying that he's Russian. He then obtained German citizenship, and then he moved to Japan.
But he was in Japan. I mean, he lived in Japan since like after 1985. It says so. Yeah, I'm not sure.
Triple citizenship or something.
And then here's the important part, though. Bunin recorded interpretations of works by Haydn, Mozart, and most notably Chopin. Those include works he played for the soundtrack to the 2007 video game Eternal Sonata, and that's his entire entry. So that's like one of his biggest things is the Eternal Sonata Chopin works, I guess.
All right, so that's the answer. They found a uniquely positioned musician who could record these pieces for them. Cool.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Yeah, it's like I want to just comment on the quality of chest contents in this game. You said you missed ones at the end. You don't have to worry about those because like the last 4, chests that you get in this dungeon are Angel Trumpet, Star Cookie, Floral Extract, and Angel Trumpet. Okay, all healing items. But like the first 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The first 6 are Back Sword for Allegretto, Falchion for Jazz, Fencing Saber, Luckless, which is an armor, and a score piece, and Wind Blow, which is a bow. All weapon upgrades, all not purchasable anytime later. You can only get them here. It's just amazing the quality of treasure chests in this game, and thanks to that, it makes the exploration. I mean, the layouts being pretty cool helps as well. The layouts of all the dungeons also helps. It's not just look around the corner. It's like, jumping down here, going through these caves that go behind the scenery so you can't see yourself for a little while and stuff. All this, really creative, fun stuff. And plus on top of it all, you get like worthwhile upgrades. You get weapon upgrades and armor upgrades. Dude, it doesn't get any better than this, in my opinion.
It's pretty good. It's better than just like some healing or money, which is something I don't think you ever find in chests.
Right. Yeah, I don't think we've ever found money in a chest yet. Yeah.
Right, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so what did you think about Claves' death scene?
Well, kind of came out of nowhere. I felt like I just met this character, and now she's dying and dead.
Yup.
Um, so I kind of didn't notice what the hell was happening. I was like, oh, she's a spy, I guess.
Right.
She
She
got
was the
found
spy
out.
for the bad guys, yeah.
Yeah, so I was like, oh, okay. Not the
Rondo's
most meaningful thing to me because, again, we sort of just got introduced to this character.
right. Yeah. Rondo said that she had to kill her because she got her identity was revealed, and also she failed to. She should have framed Falsetto as the spy, and she failed to do that. And
Right,
so I'm here to kill you. It's nothing personal, she said.
right. And then she has like a 20-minute I'm dying speech where she's dying and
Stumbling around the room at the same time.
stumbling around the room and talking completely normally, just having like a full-on soliloquy. Just like,
Yeah.
are you dying or not? You sound fine. But it's one of those things in anime where a character will just give their entire life story after
As
they were
they die.
stabbed in the gut or
Right.
something. And I'm like, are you sure you're not? You seem okay. You sound totally fine. There's no like hesitation in your voice.
Bad
nothing at all.
acting.
Kinda, yeah. So she has this whole long thing about whatever. I don't even.
She was
I didn't
going
pick
on
up
about how
what-
she's like the one interesting bit that I got out of it, because most of it was just like, oh, I should have just framed Falsetto. Oh, I'm really jealous of Falsetto.
Yeah.
It's really I'm the one who's jealous. Falsetto's not jealous of me or whatever. But the one interesting bit that I got out of it, I liked when she said, I wish I had been born. I wish I knew jazz when I was born. I wish I had grown up with jazz like Falsetto. Then maybe I would have like been a better person. And I don't know, that kind of just made me think about like Falsetto just got lucky that she was born next to Jazz and was best friends with him this whole time. And so she became like a freedom fighter because of his influence. And she says that, I guess that's kind of her like saying that I became the bad guy because I was influenced by, Count Waltz guys or whatever. I don't know. I thought that was
Right.
interesting.
And so then she sends like a carrier pigeon message to Baroque Castle.
Right. I guess the original destination that she said, because she said, your destination is not Forte, though. It's Baroque. So I guess she's going to send...
Not sure what the message is.
Yeah, I'm not sure what the message is either, but whatever the last information is that she got, instead of sending it to Count Waltz guys, she's sending it to Baroque guys.
Well, I hope that pigeon heard her because it was way out the window by the time she said that.
Good point. Polka and Beat reminisce about when they were rescued by a Baroque ship, and then we explore that ship in the flashback. And I wrote here, once again, obscenely beautiful area. This is a ship, but it has a snow dome in the hallway, Christmas trees, hanging oil lanterns, and then it has these like tubes of fluorescent water. Like there's tubes of water built into the walls, and they're being illuminated somehow with something that must work like electricity. Like it's insanely awesome looking.
It's very pretty. It's all very overtly Christmas themed, or just Christmas trees.
Yeah, there's
everywhere.
lots of Christmas trees everywhere. Right.
I don't know if that's in this
snowy.
context is just like the way they decorate in general, or if this is supposed to be a seasonal thing.
Right.
But it is overtly like Christmas themed.
Yeah, I'm sure it's just because, Baroque is the snow area. That's probably why.
Right. Yeah, probably. So they're just kind of adopting that theme for the design of the area.
Yeah.
The ship is very pretty. There's like snow on the deck everywhere. It's very, very blue and like purple colors are in it all over, and all these other bright colors are built into the ship. It's nice.
So yeah, I remember previously you were happy that you got Andantino guys as new characters for the swamp and the cemetery one. And then here you have the princess and the prince. Are you happy that they're mixing it up again, or did you not need this mix up?
No, I think this is easily one of the better parts of the game is the pace at which they shake up your party composition for you. I just wish that they would give you the opportunity, like refund your accessories.
Right.
Just put them back.
Yeah.
Put them back.
Just put them back, yeah.
Like, because you can't predict, not only can you not predict, but even if you could predict, you would then have to unequip your enemies sometimes, like, in a boss fight. Like,
or before a boss fight,
like,
yeah.
If you're like, well, I'm about to lose control of these three characters, but what I'm doing with these three characters is going into a very difficult boss fight. So why would I unequip these guys?
Right.
You would is the answer. So I guess I don't know. I mean, the only upshot, like we said before, is the accessories are kind of forgettable. There's a couple cool ones, like the ones that make you run faster.
Right.
But most of them are like small bonuses. So
yeah,
that's its own problem. Like boring accessories are kind of no fun.
And then you get party level 4, which takes your tactical time down to only 1 second. But now you can use the counter attack ability, and you get 30 item points instead of 20. And this is my favorite part: you can use 2 special moves instead of 1 at the end of the time.
Mm-hmm.
So that's pretty cool. If you get good with counterattacks, if you were good with them, that alone I'd say is worth the less tactical time, because if you get the counter hit, it just stops their attack completely. They lose all the rest of their turn.
Wow.
I've never done it, though. I want to do it, but I'm just not ready. Okay, then we arrive at Tenuto Village with just Allegretto. And he meets Polka's frickin' mom. And Solfege tells him about Polka's fate to sacrifice herself and her bright Astra and all that. And then right after that, he goes to see her, and they have a cutscene. And what I would say is the most normal conversation in the whole game is finally going to happen, where Allegretto is telling Polka that he wants Polka to do whatever she wants to do, and not just always say, yeah, I'll do whatever you guys want. It'll be fine. Because he knows she's going to die. He wants her to have as much fun as she can for her last days on Earth. But then it just all changes when Polka contemplates jumping off the cliff, like right now as they speak, so that she can be reborn. And then she says after that, just kidding. I was just kidding, Allegretto. What are you getting so worked up about?
Yeah, right. I know. It is very surreal what they're all going through, or what she's going through, because her own mother is like putting all this shit in her head about like, one day you're just going to have to commit suicide, and that's just the way it is. And it's like, while she's like a toddler, she's telling her this.
Yeah.
Her mother is very like out of it. It looks like she's on painkillers.
You're talking about actually how she looks now?
Looks and behaves.
And
she just looks very like kind of in a dreamy state of what is up with this woman. But I don't know. And then Polka, Polka is very self-serious. So she's somehow, to whatever extent, understands whatever's going on with her, which I'm not even sure how she understands it, because it doesn't sound like she fully knows what's happening either.
Right. But she seems to know that she has to die.
She's taking
for
it
a reason,
very
even
seriously, regardless. And Allegretto, who, if only because he's in love, is like, what are you talking about? This is crazy.
Yeah. Then we're back at Baroque. Beat and Salsa slay Viola at card games. She gets pissed off and walks out.
It's kind of funny that those two kids are like weirdly good at card games.
Yeah, I thought that was funny too. I really like that scene for some reason. It's cute.
I don't know, just the aspect of them being good at card games is kind of funny for some reason. It's like an old person thing to be good at.
But the kids are good at it in here.
Yeah,
This
these
one.
two little, like, 6-year-old kids are just real good at card games.
Yeah. That's a good point.
Uh,
It made sense to me
ever-
when I saw it because, kids like playing card games, so they play more card games than adults in general, is what I want to say. They keep making fun of her and calling her old lady.
Yeah, they do.
And then
even
they
though she's,
slay
like,
her
20.
at poker. Yeah, and then they slay her at poker.
I guess, so the point I'm up to now is I ran out the village. I had to go find a key. Someone was like, hey, this temple is locked. So I ran back to the castle to talk to the wizard, who then had me go fetch a book. So I ran out and got the book for him. And I almost didn't know what I was getting because the game doesn't really make a point of when you found it, other than saying it's a spell book and it's an accessory that you can equip.
Yes. This is such a weird thing about this game.
It is a weird thing. And the game wasn't like, we found the spell book, whatever.
Let's
And I
go
was like,
give it back to the guy. They didn't say that, right?
Yeah. And then you have to just manually walk all the way back. It's not even like a distinct area of the map. It's just like an optional side area. So I thought for a minute, I was like, he said spell book, right? Did I find a spell book, or is this the
spell book, right? So, okay, hold on. I'm looking it up right now.
And I walked all the way back, and I was like, well, if this is not the spell book, I'm actually going to be kind of pissed.
It was the spell book, though, right?
And
Did you give it to him?
the spell book, of course.
Okay, so this is so really, really, really weird. This is all related to the item exchange quest, actually.
Oh, is it really?
It's weird.
I had a feeling it was.
Yeah, but still, even when I mean, you say that like really normally, but like, so like the item trading quest, the way it should go is you trade this item to that guy and this item to that guy and that item to the next guy, and then you get something good, right? Like, I don't know. It's really weird. So I don't have the list here, do I?
You're talking about how you can terminate the side quest and then like cash out, basically, right?
Yeah, okay. So I don't. It'd be hard. There's not a really easy to read list here, but you're gonna get an item in the beginning, and it's a key item. You can't do anything with it, so you would just find the person to give it to, and the next one is also
That's
a key item,
right?
And then we mentioned this before, up until like you get to Forte Town, where you should be getting the speed shoes, and I didn't get it though. And then that is what, as we mentioned before, it's one of the equipable accessories in the game. So you kind of like, well, this is kind of a sweet accessory. Kind of don't want to give it up, but then you're gonna find another one in the mountains over there. So you can have one and continue the quest, or do what I did, not find one of them and lose the other one also. Or you could keep both of them, right? And just be done. So that's interesting. Then you're going to, but if you could decide to continue, you'd continue. And then you'd get the spell book. And the spell book is, once again, did you just hear I say, dude? You get the spell book. It's not from the chest. You get another spell book.
Okay.
And this is an equipable accessory. It like increases your magic by like 10 or 20%. It's something kind of good, right? So now then all of a sudden you have another thing you could choose to do. You could cash out here, keep this spell book, go get the other one, or you could just give this one away to the guy and then go keep the one on the way, whatever.
Right.
And then you go back and you give it to him for the key, right? But dude, I'll just tell you right now before you get there. You're going to get up to the door of that temple, and Allegretto's going to be like, dude, this door's not even locked.
Oh, fuck.
So you don't even have to go. I guess.
Son of a bitch.
Isn't this weird? So you don't even have to go give him the spell book and get the key. I guess. I haven't tried doing that. So you could. So it's just so weird. So you could come out of this thing with either 2 speed shoes or a speed shoes and a spell book and a key, or a speed shoes, and 2 spell books. Like you could just decide the one you want if you know
That
ahead of
is
time.
weird.
Isn't that such a weird quest?
I guess they sort of hinted at it because he's like, I need a spell book. Any copy will do.
Yeah, he does say that. Yeah.
So I thought, my first thought was, shit, I'm going to have to run around this town and rub up against a bunch of bookshelves and look for a
Yeah.
spell book. And thankfully, as you're leaving, he's like, I think I dropped it out in the whatever.
Celesta
I'm
Forest.
Like, God,
Yeah.
I'll go there. And then I sure enough found it. But I was puzzled at first, like, oh, this is an accessory.
Yeah.
So
What a
that's
weird
what made me
quest.
think it was also looped into this strange item trade quest that's going on in the background.
Yeah. And yeah. It's so weird to me. Okay. So at the end of this dungeon, like I said, no boss. We end up at a place called the Cello Tree.
Mm-hmm.
And there are some very important story scenes here.
I guess so. The one note I have here is that someone said, I'm afraid you wouldn't understand even if I explained it to you. And I wrote, yeah, that's for sure.
So I wrote here just a quick summary of everything she says, because she actually goes on for a pretty long time. But I just wrote here, Polka and Chopin are not bound by destiny, according to this lady. And Polka, that's right. And so she's like, go ahead, Polka, just you, Polka, only you, draw a fortune. So, by the way, there's like that tree, the cello tree is behind her, and it's got all these pieces of papers tied to it. Do you know anything about the whole tying your fortune to a tree thing? Because I know what that is, actually.
No. Is this a thing in Japanese culture?
It is a thing in Japanese culture. So every New Year's, most people, I used to do it too, but I stopped because I don't care. Go to the shrine, you ring a bell, you throw a little bit of money in maybe, you burn whatever, like good luck charms, I guess we could call them, protective goods or whatever that you had. You burn those ones and buy new ones. And you also buy a little thing called, it's just like $1. It's called an omikuji. It would be translated as fortune scroll. Yeah. And so you open that up and it tells you all kinds of different things about you, supposedly. And the most important thing in there, I guess, is just like I guess it's not, I don't know if it's the most important, but one of the most popular things is just what is your luck level this year going to be? And it's just said with a specific word. And so in Japanese, they're called daikyo, kyo. There's kichi, there's chu kichi. And so there's a bunch of kichis and a couple kyos. And the kyos mean bad luck, and all the kichis are good luck. And the best luck is daikichi, which is like best luck ever. And so everybody hopes they're going to get daikichi. And to be honest, I don't know that any shrine that you go to will even put in a daikyo, which would be the ultimate unlucky one, right? I mean, occasionally somewhere someone has gotten it. People know of it. But I don't know anyone personally who's ever got it. And lots of people I don't think our shrines around this area even put it in there.
Yeah, that would let me just give someone a bad day.
Right. But so then you read it though, aside from just the kyo or the kichi or whatever, you read all the other little details that are in there. And if you don't like it, you tie it onto it's not usually a tree, I don't think. Oh no, maybe it is a tree sometimes. There's also like a weird fence that they have too. But you tie it onto these like branches or whatever if you don't want it. And that's like you just throwing it away. So I guess that's how you can just escape it. I don't know.
Oh wow.
So that's what this is. So the whole thing of her, that's why Polka, she comes up here. She's gonna have her fortune, she's gonna draw her fortune. And if she doesn't like it, she's gonna tie it to that tree to get rid of it. But in the end, I believe I wrote here, Polka decides not to tie her fortune to the tree. I wrote here, to the tree this time. Now, I guess we're going to get into yeah, whatever. I mean, do you know who put all those other messages to the tree, Mel?
In this game?
Yeah, in this game. Do you know?
You can tell me.
Oh, you said no? I believe
I don't know, yeah.
Right. I believe those were all put by Polka. I think she's in some kind of crazy like time loop or something. I don't
Really?
Yeah, you didn't catch that from the ending. We're talking about this now
No.
after having beaten the game. Yeah. Okay. Well, we'll get to that later, I guess, when we get to the endings.
I mean, the ending was quite a lot, so I may have missed some very obvious things.
I don't think
But
any of it was obvious, to be honest. But
okay.
okay. Yeah. So that's what happened here. For some reason, Chopin and Polka, both Chopin and Polka, are not bound by destiny. I guess everybody else is, though.
I don't know.
Yeah. Okay. And I found a Saint's Mirror and a score piece here at this cello tree.
Right.
And then we walk through an area that has literally nothing, according to your notes even, right?
Yes, Cowbell Heights.
Cowbell
Nothing
Heights.
at all.
Nothing. Just like one screen. It's beautiful because it's just
Yep.
grass and nothing else, and I like that.
Uh-huh.
And then we enter the Mount Rock entrance. Mount Rock is the next dungeon. Mount Rock is the place that Count Waltz and Forte guys are mining, that Salsa was saying, if you keep mining it, it's killing the forest, because the
Right.
forest and the mountain are connected in some way. I can't really think of how. Is that a thing in real life too?
I guess
No,
it's
right?
just sort of a naturist
A naturist thing, yeah, that they came up with.
sort of perspective of, everything is connected. Don't ruin whatever.
I met a guy right at the entrance of Mount Rock, and he said the work has gotten brutal since Jazz left his mining job and started the revolution. The miners are still angry at Tenor.
Hmm.
And I think Tenor was just a guy you could talk to at, what's the name of their group, Jazz's group?
No, I forgot.
Well, let's remember it. Not Forte. God damn it. Not Andantino? Andantino?
Yes.
Andantino. Yeah. Okay, we remembered it. Yeah. I believe Tenor is a guy you can go meet at Andantino and just talk to him. I don't remember what he said. Maybe I wrote it. Maybe we talked about it earlier.
We probably did.
But yeah, the miners are angry at Tenor and maybe angry at Jazz as well. I'm not sure. I thought that was interesting. And then there's another big shopping you can do right here at the entrance to Mount Rock. So like the shopping's getting a little bit out of hand, in my opinion. I mean, I like it, but I remember I had to go into the first area of this dungeon and like just grind for like money, or I used the camera to grind
it's
photos
getting
for money.
expensive?
Because we just had an upgrade before
Right.
two Coda runes. We just went through one dungeon and now it's a whole nother world. And I'm buying one of everything, right? Because I'm crazy.
Sure. Well, initially my plan for this was I was only going to buy items for people that I planned to use, but the game kept screwing me over, being like, "Nope, we're gonna force you to use this person or that person." So what I ended up doing was I would buy, I think, the newest weapon and one piece of armor, so if I got forced to use someone, it would be somewhat functional.
Mm-hmm.
And then I would still only buy everything for the people I plan to use.
Right. Okay. So you need lots of money here, though, if you want to buy everything again.
That's the bottom line, is you need a fair amount of money. Stuff's expensive.
Yeah. And that's the way it should be, in my opinion. Like,
I agree.
yeah, right? Like, at the very least, even if you don't want to make the basic stuff expensive, then I think there should be some optional kind of things. Like, I remember the game Legend of Dragoon did this, where, like, there's, like, the very first town, you can buy all the basic armor and equipment pretty quickly, but then there's, like, something that's, like, 4 hours of grinding expensive, and I want to get that, right? So I got that.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
And so that was awesome to me. I like that kind of thing. Okay, and when you beat Count Waltz, you get party level 5. And this is one hell of a party level, yo. You didn't write it down, so let me tell you. The only negative is that you get 0 tactical time now.
Mm-hmm.
So it went like from 3 seconds to 0. So you instantly have to start moving. I think I tried one of those pieces of equipment that gives you more tactical time. I don't think it did not cancel the 0 tactical time, requirement of party level 5. So
Okay.
you can't do that. That would have been cool, but oh well. But that's the only negative. And in return, you get now another 10 item slots, so you can do 40 now. Specials can now be used as counterattacks. I don't know
That's
how
right.
that goes, but that
I
sounds
remember
awesome.
this now. Yes.
And you can do 3 specials now instead of 1 or 2, like you could before.
Yeah.
Like at the end, just 3 people can do it. It's awesome. And this is the craziest one right here. Movement speed for everyone, plus 50% from now on.
I remember that.
That's
I just didn't write it in my
amazing.
notes for some reason. I think it was just because I was so pissed off at this boss fight. I was like, fine, it's done. Fuck.
You didn't see your awesome reward, dude.
I think I saw it. I just was like too pissed to write it down. Because I remember that. I remember getting it. I'm like, good.
Yeah. So that makes like getting up to the enemies way faster. And we arrive at the final town of the game. It's a really weird town. It's called Elegy of the Moon. And yeah,
Right.
it's just there aren't any actual people. They are just the dead souls of people. And all of these people who died all died from mineral powder. From drinking too
okay.
much mineral powder. That's an interesting little note. And then I wrote here, Jesus Louises. I think I just found. Oh, dude, that's pretty crazy. Yeah, Jesus Louises. I think I just found the soul of the dead guy in the locked room in Fort Fermata. You talk to one of the souls, and he's like, I was in that room, and I was all alone, and I had no water. Like, I was like, dude, that's it. Because you go into that one locked room in Fort Fermata, there's a passed out enemy guy in there, and there's a little dish on the floor, and it says, looks like it had water in it or something.
Right.
And so I'm kind of impressed by that because I wrote the Jesus Louises because I just thought that was really freaking dark.
How did he end up here?
Because he died from mineral powder. Remember that dungeon, Fort Fermata? All the enemies,
Yes.
you're right, they float around and they have their sticks. Those guys are all people who drank mineral powder and became soldiers for Count Waltz's army, right?
Okay.
Yeah. So that's why his soul is here, but his body's over there.
Oh, this is a place where the souls end up. I see.
Right, because everybody in this town is just a blue or a red.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if this
ball.
town, like, because I was really losing the thread at this point. I was like, is this a fantasy world inside a dream? Like, what is this supposed to be a real place in the world?
Yeah, that's a good point. It's like, yeah, because it's not the normal world, obviously, because it's got dead souls just wandering around in it, and they...
So this wasn't ever a normal town. This is a place where like the souls are normally supposed to like go.
I get. Right? I mean, I guess this is like some kind of weird, maybe purgatory or something for people who died from mineral powder. They died this weird kind of unnatural death because it's weird that everyone here died from mineral powder. So I think what happened is they went to this weird kind of whatever purgatory type place, and then the funny thing is, even though they're dead, they can still do things. Like
sell you items.
Right, like the guy's like, hey, I got all these awesome things, and even though I'm dead, I can't help but continue selling things. So buy something. And I'm like, how did you get that?
I'm surprised I talked to the right guy and found out he was a vendor.
Right? Yeah, you could just totally miss it.
I got lucky because I didn't talk to everyone.
For people who don't know, I did a 3-part, very in-depth review of Final Fantasy VII Remake, and in part 3, I talked about exploration, and in the exploration section, I talked about what you get in the chests in Final Fantasy VII.
Right.
And I said in the remake, and I said that they were all pretty bad because there were way too many chests with freaking potions and stuff in it, or insignificant amounts of gold and gil and things like that. And I compared the last dungeon, which was that place inside like the Shinra laboratory. That's the last dungeon for there, compared to this game's last dungeon, because I don't know that there's been a game I've played that has better chest contents than this game. And I compared it to this dungeon specifically, Double Reed Tower. Let me count here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There were 8
weapons, right?
I'm sorry?
It's all like weapons and equipment, right?
There were 8 chests, and 6 of them are
wow.
equipment.
That's really good.
Yeah, and each of the 4 bosses also drops a new weapon or armor or something.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, that's just insanely worth your time to go and get, at least. Like, whether you thought the layout of the dungeon or the visual appeal of it was, made you want to explore it and made the exploration enjoyable, that's another story. But at least the rewards are totally, worth your time. And I
Right.
freaking love that about this game. I've said it a million times, so I'll stop saying it again now. So after all this, the freaking final boss of this dungeon is the one and only Count Waltz, yet again, with the massive Legato Dragon.
Right. This
Let's
fight
see.
was a bullshit.
So before the battle, they said like this. The good guy said, "Stop doing evil stuff." And Walt said, "I'm just doing what the people want." And then I wrote an actual quote. I thought this was a cool one. I'm tired of catering to a public so idiotic as to believe every little thing those in power tell them. I just thought that was amazing. It's like he succeeded in like making everybody believe everything he says.
Right.
And then he's like tired that they fell for it, even though that was his goal. Probably.
Right. Yeah, he's just becoming like this, like sort of generically, I hate everyone.
Yeah. Chopin asks, "What do you want with so much power?" And Walt says, "So I can make all others bow to me, carve out my mark on the world, and be adored by people for all eternity." Like, this guy's out of his mind. I don't know.
Yeah, he's a little bit of a complex there.
Yeah.
He opens it up a little bit in that scene with like one of those tropes where it's like, we're not so different, you and I. Like, he actually says something very similar to that. I'm like, oh boy.
But then, like, I don't really know how they're not different, though, even after they explain it.
Well.
Yeah. Like, are you sure we're not so different? I don't know.
Yeah, right. It's just something he ends up saying. It's that typical villain.
You killed a bunch of monsters to get here, right? So you're evil too. Something like that.
You
right?
want power. I want power. We're both the same. We're both trying to defeat each other so that we can have power. Whatever.
So after this battle, you have the choice to go on to the final battle. This was not the final battle for those listening. There's like a freaking gonna surprise you a super hard battle coming up. Like, I can't believe that's who I have to fight battle. But before that, from this battle, you got an item called the Heroes Crest. If you take that into the fantasy noise dunes of fantasy, into that door that I couldn't open, you can open the door.
Ooh.
And inside there is a dungeon called the Mysterious Union. This is a 6-hour dungeon.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah, it's one of those with like lots of floors. It took me that long anyway because I wanted to grind a lot and stuff.
Right, yeah.
Now, just listen to this stuff, okay? So, first crazy thing that happens, you walk in there, Claves rejoins the party.
Oh, wow.
The dead girl.
Yes.
And the whole point of this dungeon is you're going to find all of the fragments of Claves' soul in this dungeon and reunite her soul with her body. And if you do that, you can take her out of the mysterious unison and just have her as another permanent member yet again. If you don't do that, she'll only stay with you while you're in this dungeon.
Wow.
So that's pretty cool. After you beat the first boss, there are lots of bosses, but after you beat the first one, are you ready for this, man? You get party level 6, the final party level.
Oh boy, they locked the party level behind the secret dungeon, huh?
That's right. You only have to kill the first boss in it, but yeah. And I'll let you know that it's worth it just if you want. That is, if you want to play the encore mode anyway. It is worth it to come here and just beat just that first boss to get party level 6, because one of the very few things that does carry over to encore mode is the party levels, and you can choose any party level at any time. I think in our game.
You could do that normally.
Oh, could we change it back to previous ones?
Yeah, you could roll it back if you wanted to.
Okay. Yeah. Well, now you can do it from the very beginning, and you have all 6 party levels. Now, here you go. The let me tell you what the positives are first. This is amazing. So you're gonna get another 10 item slots. You got 50 now. But
Jesus.
the only the first special that you uses up your echoes. So you know how you can do 3 specials at the end of a chain?
Wow. Yeah,
Only the
yeah,
first
yeah.
one uses up the echoes, and all the other hits from all the other ones just starts. It doesn't use them, so it just keeps adding. So by the time it's the next person's turn, you probably might already even have how many hits? Let's say like I don't know, 12, 16 even.
Mhm.
Depends on the ones you use. Maybe you can get up to 24 if you're lucky. Yeah, right. No, you're gonna definitely have 32 hits actually, because
Oh, wow.
you can now chain 6 specials, not just 3.
What?
You can just do 6 special moves at the end of a turn instead of just 3 if you have over 24 echoes.
That's
amazing.
ridiculous.
And the echoes carry over across battles. So you can walk into a boss battle with 32 echoes if you want. Is this not
That's
the coolest thing you've
ridiculous.
ever heard?
That's a really crazy way to be overpowered in this game that's already allows you to do that.
Now you want to hear this is going to drive you insane. You want to hear what the negative is? I'm laughing already about it. Just what is your reaction going to be when I tell you the negative? The
Can't use
negative
items?
is, I'm sorry?
You can't use items?
No, they gave you 10 more item slots, dude.
Oh, right. Yeah.
After every special that you do, the guard button, the attack button, and the item button, they all get shuffled.
What?
So now
the fuck does that mean?
it means, so what is your attack button? X?
Oh, fuck that. Why would they do this?
So you have to watch down there and see which is the one, and it shuffles them with every special. So in the middle of your six specials in a row, like you have to be like, you know, you're pressing the special button, you're pressing the special button, and then it's gonna switch. Like, okay, switch to this button, and then it's gonna switch. Okay, switch to this button. It's not that hard. You just keep tapping the button and just move your finger when you see the symbol switch. But you got to pay attention, especially after your turn is over. They come and attack you. You got to remember which button is the guard button, because it's not gonna be the normal guard button anymore.
That's a lot.
Is that a flaw, or you just don't like it?
I think that's a lot. I just think it's a lot. To like keep, I don't know. I mean, if you love this game, it sounds like everything is here for you. But if you're not invested in the combat system, or if you find it like kind of hard and grindy, like oof, the game really.
Yeah, I mean, personally, I wish it didn't shuffle them either. I don't like that either. But
That's too
can't.
much.
I can't not take it because I can do 6 specials now, right?
I mean, I kind of almost wasn't. I was just using Viola to just destroy everything.
Right.
It's way easier than having to chain up echoes and like make sure that you get combos going or anything like that, which is probably the boring way to do it, but it's effective.
Yeah, I wonder how effective it is to use Viola all the time in Encore mode. I don't know.
Probably not. I
Right.
probably really want you to use, if they're going to make the game harder, I would imagine you kind of have to engage with those systems.
Right. And, you know, since you're doing 6 specials now, you can throw in a couple heal specials in there too and just take care of all bases at once. Yeah. So that's amazing. Okay. But the craziness doesn't end yet with this dungeon, dude.
Oh, Jesus.
Listen to the amount of experience. Okay. So, like, the first enemies, they give you 12,000 experience each. That's a little bit more than previous. The next levels enemies you meet give you 13,000, and then the next ones give you 15,000, and then 17,000, and then the last enemies you meet in this dungeon will give you 21,000. So it's like basically double. Isn't that double what you could get from the strongest enemy in the final dungeon? Yes, that's like double. So that's all, so that's even more. But that's not the crazy part, dude. That's not the crazy part, dude. Because in the previous dungeon, the enemies were giving you 300 gold, 200 gold, 180 gold, and just the Black Onyx, which gave you 11,000 experience, gave you 0 gold. But listen to this, dude. Okay, 500 gold. Okay, that's a lot more, but not insane. 1,000 gold. Okay, that's quite a bit more, but it's not that crazy. How about this one, dude? You kill one Ryugu, you get 600,000 gold.
That's a lot.
You kill one Astral Lead, you get 4 million gold.
Jesus. What do you do with all that money?
One of the freaking soul shards of Claves that is in this dungeon is just being sold to you by a vendor, and it costs 99 million gold. But you can also just buy one of those.
Okay.
You can also use just one of those extra 4 million gold to, buy all the healing items in the world too, right?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. You're right.
This is amazing. And of course, while I was here, I also ended up getting all kinds of crazy, way better weapons than I had before. And I was so happy to find out. I don't know if I wrote the name down here, but whatever it was, I was using with falsetto. I think it was Tyr's left arm. And that's the one I believe that lets you increase the amount. It increases the amount of increase in the action gauge with every hit. And you can get 16 hits or something, like no problem. Or was it more than that? Was it 24? It was like insane enough to... Oh, that's right. I remember now. It's 16 hit all by herself, but then you combine that with whatever accessory it is that lets you... There's like an accessory you got that allows you to... It adds another hit to all your attacks. That's what it is. And you put that on her, and she's like a one-man army building 32 echoes all by herself. But that weapon that Tyr's left arm gets, weaker and weaker as you get further and further into the game, right? You find like 3 other better weapons. I'm happy to announce her best weapon in the whole game also has that same ability and is just absolutely insane. It's amazing. Height. I can't. It felt so good when I found it. I think it was Tyr's right arm now that I think about it. You find Tyr's left arm, it's like good when you find it, but then you get further and further and you found 3 other weapons. And you want to switch to the higher damage weapons, but you don't want to give up all the hits.
Mm-hmm.
And then you find Tyr's right arm, and it's like the same thing, just way stronger than anything else. Oh my God. You knew exactly what I wanted, game. That's Eternal Sonata, Mel. What do you think overall?
Well, there's a couple standout reasons why it's not quite my type of game. It's a real-time action RPG, which...
I thought you were into it, actually.
I mean, it's into it to the extent that the parts of it are good. I liked. But it's not like... I don't know that I would have picked this game on my own to play. Because I think like action role-playing games I'd rather play a real action game or a turn-based role-playing.
Right, a turn-based role-playing game. I see.
I think the in-betweens seldom get the balance the way I like it. Sometimes they do, and it's great. Most of the time, I feel like there are these weird concessions around the edges, like the items in this game and other things. I'm like, I just feel like this should be a turn-based game or a full action game or something. But overall, yeah, I don't know. It's better than I was expecting, actually, because I thought it is turn-based. I should correct myself, because you are taking turns.
That's right, but it's not action. It's action.
It's like a real-time action type of thing. I thought it was fully real-time, where everyone was like, acting at once, and you were only controlling one character, that type of thing.
Right.
So it definitely appealed more when I realized, no, that's not the case. But yeah, the story being so fucking like out there, it's kind of hard to attach myself to these characters. It's very abstract and bonkers half the time.
Yeah.
But I think the combat, when it works, when it flows, when you're getting into it, it's a relatively easy grind. which for a game that does demand some of that is always a good thing.
Yeah.
To your point, there's a lot of like really good rewards if you're willing to dig for them. You're not just going to get some money or some potions. And the music, of course, like I didn't really stand out to me. A lot of it's just kind of like classical interpretations of actual Chopin. But I think some of that's just because I don't think I really care for Chopin's actual, like it's not my style of classical.
Yeah. Well, wait a minute. The most of the game music is the non-Chopin music, though.
No, it is not. You're right. But the parts of it that are
okay, yeah,
would probably have been what would have stuck with me most because I do like classical music quite a bit, but I don't think I ever really gravitated towards Chopin.
Okay.
Or piano
music
pieces in general. Like it's not quite my style.
Right, same here. I never had any attachment to Chopin or his music. You know, but I just like the game.
But Sakuraba sort of usual flair is definitely there. If you like it, you like it. If you don't, it's definitely a certain theme for sure. I think it's, this whole game is of a kind, right? So we were talking about that earlier in the recordings where it looks like an extension of Baten Kaitos in a way.
Right.
Just visually, the design language is all the same. The soundtrack is very similar. I would even say the combat being this sort of momentum-based thing that they were going for again is another similar design choice. I think Baten Kaitos got a little better. I think the pre-rendered backgrounds in that game lent itself to a prettier game world. This game doesn't look bad. It aged quite well for a PS3 game, but also I think the Baten Kaitos story is more grounded, easier to follow. The characters are just kind of who they are, doing what they normally are. There isn't all this subtext behind everyone where you're kind of like, is that what they're doing? Is that what they're really doing? Is what's going on here? What's going on there? And the cast of characters in Baten Kaitos is also a bit smaller, or the important cast, I guess.
Right.
So as far as comparisons go, I would probably pick that one for sure. But I don't know. I think it's just some of it's just like up to it not quite being my style of game. But as far as you having played this game before, where would you kind of put this in terms of like the rest of your gaming RPG sort of pantheon?
In terms of how much I like it, you mean?
Yeah, like as compared to like
to the other games you've played.
Games that you've played.
Yeah.
Or general games that you've played.
For me, it's definitely high. I don't think there's any to use something that's famous and popular that's going to drive people crazy when they hear it. And compared to any Final Fantasy game, I would rather play this in even more than 12, which is my favorite, or Tactics.
Okay.
Yeah, I prefer this game. And for me, the thing that really puts it over the top is just how freaking. I mean, it's a combination of things, obviously, right? It's not dark, which I like, but I mean, most of the games I play aren't dark. Right. And then I told you that how I'm just so impressed with the graphics all the time.
Sure.
The music is quite my type, and I think I've said that, if this game did in fact do the thing where it doesn't interrupt the battles, like I would just it would just jump way high on my list of favorite games. Like,
well, it's also very musically oriented. That's kind of your speed.
I guess so.
Right?
Yeah, I guess I like music more than the average person. Maybe, I don't know.
Certainly know more about it, so
a little bit more.
Your thing,
right? I mean, I had to study some music stuff in history in college, and one of the things you had to study was some music history, and I totally did not pay attention. Totally did not care. So
that's more about the musicians, right? And
that's what it's about. And their styles and like which songs, which songs were important to moving classical music forward and stuff. And
Right.
That's interesting to a degree, but mostly I didn't care. And so I don't really have that much more knowledge about music than the average person.
But I would say as a musician, you have more of an understanding of musical terminology and the sort of like
to a degree.
motifs that they're playing with than the average person, I would say for sure.
Okay. Yeah, maybe I do.
Way more than I have.
Right.
I don't know anything.
Right. I mean, I just I play guitar and I write. I wrote a lot of songs, you could say. So
Right.
I have that experience at least. So yeah, admittedly being based around music didn't really turn out to make much difference to me.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I guess there are times it depends on the music, right? For example, the fighting game Guilty Gear is entirely based on heavy metal. Like the names of all the characters and the moves are names of real heavy metal bands and albums. And so that stood out to me, and the music influence on that game makes it better, at least for me. In this case, I mean, I like the music that was there by Chopin and stuff, but more than that, I just liked the soundtrack by Motoi Sakuraba much more.
Right.
And I told you that there are some dungeon themes in this game that like really blew me away. The one in Tukoda Ruins, it has all those crescendos, and the really, I guess what would be the right word? Just aggressive one in what's that lady? That pirate lady, Captain Dolce's ship. I freaking love that theme as well. So yeah, lots of standout tracks for me among the Sakuraba repertoire is in this soundtrack for me. It's one of his better ones for sure, in my opinion.
So I guess that kind of wraps it up, unless you have more.
Yeah, no. I'll throw out some names for people to praise or hate. Vocals by Mio Sakuraba and Yuko Sakuraba. I'm sure that's probably his wife and daughter. Like, just the whole family is musicians, right?
Right.
Story and director was Hiroya Hatsushiba. I'd have to look into see what other games he's made. The game design director, which sounds like I guess just the whole going through dungeons designer, like not the dungeon designer itself, but the person who decides, okay, they're gonna go through dungeons. It's gonna look kind of like this, and then the battle scene is gonna be kind of like, I'm not sure what the game design director does. That sounds like everything, to be honest. But then director also does like everything. That's Takashi Yamamoto, and the battle program director. I don't know if he actually designs the battle itself, but is at least in charge of the programming. Is crap. What is this? It's not Kuji. That can't be a name. Nobody's named Kuji. Kenji Sugizaki. So I thought I'd just bring them up since they did a good job, in my opinion. And that does it for Eternal Sonata. Shall we play a new game, Mel?
Ooh. What game shall we play?
How about we play Elden Ring? What do you think?
Oh my gosh.
Of all the games to choose.
All the games.
Do you
that sounds like a good. I would definitely. I have been playing it.
Okay, so have I. Yeah. Yes. So that's going to be the next game we're going to play. Look forward to that, everyone. I hope you enjoyed Mel's journey through Eternal Sonata and listening to me go on and on about how great this and that little aspect about the game is. And if you enjoyed all this, you can press the like button or tell all your friends or whatever. We don't actually know how to advertise, so you figure it out.
Do the work for us, please.
Please. Yeah, we don't want to do it, so you do it. Anything else to say, Mel?
No. I once again am glad that I had an opportunity to play a game that I wouldn't have chosen to play for myself. I think that's invaluable part of doing the show.
Indeed. That does it for tonight, everyone. Thank you very much.
Thank you.